My husband walked into our son's birthday party, holding his mistress shield by the hand. Then he placed that boy beside Noah's cake and said, "There is enough room for both of my sons." The room laughed nervously. My son's smile disappeared, and I quietly pressed record on my phone before touching the sealed DNA report inside my purse. Daniel thought I would not ruin a child's birthday. He was right about one thing, that I would not ruin Noah's birthday. I would end a lie before the candles went out. My son Noah had asked for dinosaur cake, blue balloons, and one simple thing. "Mom, can Dad be on time this year?" I promised him Daniel would be there. That was my first mistake of the day. By 4:00 in the afternoon, the backyard was full of children running across the grass, parents standing near the food table, and relatives pretending they had never judged my marriage from the corners of their eyes. The cake sat in the center of the long table, a green sugar dinosaur standing on top of a coccolate volcano. 7 candles waited beside it. Noah kept glancing toward the gate. He said he was just parking. I told him Noah nodded too quickly. He was already learning to protect his father from disappointment. That hurt more than Daniel's lateness. Then the gate opened. Daniel walked in wearing the navy jacket I had bought him for our anniversary. One hand held a gift bag, the other held a little boy's hand. Behind them came Vanessa Cole. She wore cream silk, soft curls, and the kind, off-careful smile women use when they want to look innocent in front of witnesses. The boy beside Daniel looked around with wide eyes. He was smaller than Noah, maybe 6, with a stiff white shirt and a paper gift crown already on his head. Noah's body went still beside me. "Dad," he said. Daniel smiled as if he had arrived with a surprise puppy instead of the woman whose perfume had been haunting his shirts for months. "Hey, buddy." He kissed the top of Noah's head. Too fast. Too public. I brought someone special. The adults around us went quiet. Vanessa stepped forward. "Happy birthday, Noah. Caleb was so excited to meet you." Noah looked at Caleb, then at me. I felt his fingers slip into mine. Daniel lowered his voice, but not enough. He wanted people to hear him. "Claire, can we not make this awkward? He's a child." I looked at Caleb. He was not the problem. He was a child standing inside an adult lie. I didn't say anything. I said, Daniel's mother, Ellen, appeared near the drink table like she had been waiting for her cue. "Claire, be gracious. It is a party." I smiled at her. That made her uneasy. Daniel placed his hand on Caleb's shoulder. "Noah, this is Caleb. He is important to me." The words landed like a slap. Not family, not a friend, important. Vanessa lowered her eyes. "Daniel, maybe this is too much." But she did not leave. She did not step back. Her hand rested lightly on Daniel's arm. I had seen that performance before. The gentle woman who never asked for anything. Out loud. The wounded woman who let men offer everything and then pretended she had no choice. Maya, my best friend, stood by the patio doors with her phone in her hand. I met her eyes once. She understood. She lifted the phone just enough to record without being obvious. Daniel moved closer to home. "I told you we needed to talk after a party. You said you had a work emergency." I replied. He looked irritated. "This is not the time." "No," I said softly. "It really isn't." The party tried to continue. Children ran. Music played. Someone opened juice boxes. But the air had changed. Everyone watched without looking like they were watching. Caleb followed Daniel around the yard. Vanessa stood near the cake table, accepting sympathy from women who had no idea what they were blessing. Noah stopped laughing. That was when something inside me settled into place for years. I had told myself Daniel was tired. Daniel was stressed. Daniel was bad at expressing love. Daniel loved Noah in his own way. But a child should not have to translate neglect into love. AT5. Ellen clapped her hands. Cake time. The children gathered around the table. Noah stood in front of his dinosaur cake. I lit the first candle. Then the second, Daniel suddenly said, "Wait." I looked up. He guided Caleb forward. Noah's shoulders tightened. Daniel smiled for the crowd. "Come on, Caleb. Stand next to Noah." Noah looked at me again. I wanted to pull him into my arms and walk out. But if I walked out, Daniel would call me dramatic, Ellen would call me cruel, Vanessa would call herself attacked. The room would remember my reaction, not their behavior. So I stayed calm. "Daniel," I said, "this is Noah's cake." Daniel's smile hardened. "It is a child's birthday cake." "Claire, don't be petty." Vanessa touched Caleb's hair. "It's okay. Caleb doesn't need to." But she said it with a tremble. Just enough for the crowd. Ellen sighed loudly. "For heaven's sake, Claire, there is plenty of cake." Daniel leaned down and whispered something to Noah. Noah looked at the ground. "What did you say to him?" I asked. Daniel straightened. I told him. Good brothers share. A sound moved through the adults. Not a gasp. Not yet. Just discomfort. I looked at my 7-year-old son standing beside his cake, being told to share, not dessert, but his father, Caleb, stood beside him now. Vanessa moved closer. Daniel placed one hand behind each boy. Then he looked at me with victory in high Z's. He thought the setting protected him. He thought motherhood made me obedient. He thought I would swallow any humiliation to keep a party pretty. I raked into my purse and touched the sealed envelope. The DNA report had been printed that morning. I had not planned to use it at the party. I had planned to let Noah have his day, then file for divorce on Monday. But Daniel had brought the lie to my son's candles, so I would end it there. I picked up the lighter and lit the last candle. 7 small flames shook in the breeze. Daniel began. "Everyone, before we sing, I want to say something." Of course he did. Hell of the stage. He smiled at our friends, our relatives, my son's classmates, parents. Families can be complicated, but love should be generous. Today is about Noah. Yes, beauty is also about making room. Caleb deserves to be welcomed, too. Vanessa covered her mouth as if touched. Noah Sayas filled with tears. He refused to let fall. I turned off the lighter. Then I said, "Before the candles go out, everyone should know what kind of room Daniel is asking my son to make." Daniel frowned. "Claire." I pulled out the envelope. The backyard went silent. It did not raise my voice. I did not shake, I did not cry. I broke the seal and unfolded the report. Daniel brought Caleb here today because Vanessa told him Caleb was his son. I said he used that claim to justify months of lies, thousands of dollars in transfers. And now, this public humiliation of our child. Vanessa went white. Daniel stared at the paper. "What the hell is that?" I held it up. A DNA test. The candles kept burning. Noah stood frozen beside me. I looked at Daniel, then at Vanessa. And according to this report, I said, "Caleb's not Daniel's child." For the first time all afternoon, Daniel had nothing to say 2 weeks earlier. I had not been looking for an affair. I had been looking for a missing payment to Noah's college fund. That was how everything began. Not lipstick, not perfume, not a late-night message flashing across Daniel's phone. A number, $5,000 that should have moved automatically from our joint account into Noah's education savings had never arrived. I sat in Daniel's home office after midnight, wearing an old sweatshirt and holding a cup of cold tea. The house was quiet. Noah was asleep upstairs with his dinosaur nightlight glowing beside his bed. Daniel had told me he had a client dinner and would be home late. He had been coming home late for months. I had stopped asking because every question turned into a fight. "You know how much pressure I'm under," he would say. Or "Do you want the mortgage paid? Or do you want me home by 6? The cruel part was that the mortgage was on my house. My grandmother had left me the property before I married Daniel. The deed was in me name. Daniel knew that his mother hated that. She once told me, after 2 glasses of wine, a man never feels settled in a house owned by his wife. I laughed then. I was not laughing in the office that night. The bank page showed 3 transfers over 6 weeks. $2.000, $4.000, $5.000. Recipient V. Cole. I stared at the name until the letters blurred. Vanessa Cole. I knew her as the Vance consultant Daniel's company used for client receptions. I had met her twice. She had a soft voice, a careful handshake, and a way of looking at Daniel as if he was explaining the world to her. I clicked into the transfer notes. Emergency rent. School deposit. Medical bill. My hands went cold. I opened the credit card statement. Next, there were charges at a children's clothing store, a pediatric clinic, auto shop, and a restaurant Daniel claimed he hated. Then I saw the hotel, not a business hotel downtown, a small boutique hotel near the river. 1 room, 1 night. 2 weeks before our anniversary. I did not cry. Crying would have made the moment about heartbreak. What I felt was clearer than heartbreak, that I felt the floor underneath my marriage crack. Daniel's laptop sat on the desk. He had left it open, trusting my old habit of respecting his privacy. Trust is a beautiful thing when both people deserve it. I touched the trackpad. His email was open. There was a message from Vanessa with the subject line, Caleb school form. I should have stopped. I should have called him and demanded an explanation. Instead, I opened it. Daniel, they need the emergency contact section updated. I wrote your number because Caleb asks for you now. I know this is complicated, but he deserves consistency. You promised you would not disappear again. Disappear again. Mistamach tightened. The attached form listed Caleb Cole. Age 6. Date of birth, April 12th. I read the date 3 times. Daniel had once told me he met Vanessa at a corporate gala 4 years ago. Caleb was 6. Maybe they had known each other earlier. Maybe Daniel had lied about that, too. But the numbers did not fit the story Vanessa was telling him. Not unless Daniel had been part of her lifelong before he admitted. I searched Daniel's email for Caleb. More messages appeared. Photos of Caleb at a playground. Receipts. A scanned copy of a birth certificate with the father's sign blank. A message from Vanessa that read, I never wanted to force you, but every time I look at him, I see what hellest by not having you. That line made him stop. It was not proof. It was bait. I forwarded the emails to myself, then saved them to a drive Daniel could not access. I took screenshots of the bank transfers. I downloaded the credit card statements. My hands moved calmly, almost mechanically. The front door opened at 1:13 a.m. I closed the laptop, walked to the kitchen, and poured Daniel a glass of water. He entered with his tie loose and his hair slightly damp from rain that had stopped an hour earlier. You're awake, he said. So are you. He kissed my cheek. I smelled Vanessa's perfume. Long night, he said. I checked the college fund. His expression changed for half a second, then he recovered. I was going to talk to you about that. About what? Some cash flow timing. I moved a few things around. Noah's money. It is our money, Claire. I looked at him. There it was, the sentence that turns theft into authority. I said, Noah's education account is not flexible spending. Daniel rubbed his face. Don't start. I handled it. For whom? His eyes sharpened. What is that supposed to mean? I could have said Vanessa's name. I could have thrown the glass. I could have screamed loud enough to wake our son instead. I said that IT means I want the money replaced by Friday. Daniel gave a short laugh. You have been watching too many legal dramas. No, I said. I have been watching our accounts for the first time in years. He looked at me as if he was not sure what I knew. Good. Let him wonder. The next morning, I drove Noah Toskell. He sat in the back seat with his backpack on his lap. Mom, he said yes. Baby, do I have a brother? The car seemed to narrow around me. I kept my eyes on the road. Why would you ask that? Dad was on the phone in the garage. He said, Caleb needs time. Toad just because Noah had him first. My fingers tightened on the wheel. Noah continued, voice small. Had what first? I pulled into the school parking lot and turned around. You had your dad and me first, I said, and you never have torn your place in your own family. Henneted. But children know when adults are building walls around pain. After Hewicked into school, I sat in the car and searched Vanessa's name online. Vanessa Cole, event consultant, formerly Vanessa Pierce. One child, no public father listed. Then I searched Caleb's date of birth again, April 12th. I opened my calendar from 7 years earlier. I still had old entries synced from my phone. Daniel had been in Denver that week for a conference. Also, he had said, a conference with flight receipts, hotel receipts, photos with colleagues. The dates did not fit Vanessa's implication that did not prove Daniel was innocent, that IT proved something stranger. Vanessa might be lying to him. 2. By noon, I had an appointment with a lawyer. By evening, I had a folder named Noah. By midnight, I had stopped being only a wife. I became a witness. Rachel Evans did not look surprised when I told Hermie husband might be financially supporting his mistress and her child. Divorce lawyers must develop a special kind of stillness. She listened without interrupting. Her office was on the 9th floor of a brick building downtown with glass shelves, gray chairs, and no family photographs on the desk. I liked that. I did not want to sit across from Simeon's smiling children while discussing the possible destruction of men. When I finished, Rachel tapped her pen once against her notebook. You need to separate 3 issues. She said the affair, the money, and the child is willowed. The child is not at fault, but your husband's use of that child may matter, especially if he is forcing contact with your son in a way that causes emotional harm. I looked down at me hands. Noah asked if he had a brother. Rachel's expression softened. He heard Daniel talking. I said, Daniel told someone Caleb needs time, because Noah had him first, as if my son is an obstacle. Rachel wrote something down. Has Noah's behavior changed? He is quieter. He checks the window when Daniel is late. He apologizes for things she didn't do. Last week, he asked if Dad liked boys who play soccer more than boys who draw. Rachel stopped writing. Document that. She said, I don't want to turn my child into evidence. You are not turning him into evidence. Rachel said, you are protecting him from adults who are already using him. That sentence stayed with me for years. It hot being a good mother meant absorbing impact. I took Daniel's moods. Ellen's comments. Missed dinners. Forgotten promises. I stood between conflict and Noah like a wall. But sometimes a wall only teaches people where to throw harder. Rachel gave me a list. Bank records, credit card statements, messages, emails, any proof Daniel moved marital funds, any proof I intended to introduce Caleb into Noah's life without agreement, any proof the claim of paternity was false or manipulated. How would I prove that? I asked carefully. Rachel said, legally. Do not steal medical records. Do not hack accounts. Do not do anything that lets him make you the problem. I found emails on a laptop in our home. Shared access. He leaves it open. I know the password because I manage household documents. Good. Save what you already saw. Do not break into anything new. I nodded. She leaned back. And Claire, not confront him until you know what you want. I almost laughed. What I wanted was simple and impossible. I wanted the Daniel who cried when Noah was born. I wanted the man who painted the nursery badly and proudly. I wanted the husband who used to leave notes in me sketchbook. But that man, if he had ever truly existed, was not the man moving money from our son's future to another woman's rent. I want my son safe, I said. Then start there. That afternoon, Noah's teacher called Mrs. Palmer had a voice made for calming. Rooms full of 7-year-olds. Hearing concern in it scared me more than Rachel's legal language. Noah had a hard moment today. She said, "Nothing serious, but I thought you should know what happened. They were making family trees for open classroom night. Noah asked if he could leave one branch blank. When I asked him why, he said, 'I didn't know who gets to stay.' I closed me eyes. Mrs. Palmer waited. 'Thank you for telling me.' I said, 'There is something else. A woman came to pick him up last Thursday. She said she was a family friend. The office did not release him. Of course, because she isn't on the approved list.' My eyes opened. 'What woman?' She said her name was Vanessa. For a moment, all sound left the room. She came to my son's school. Yes. She said Daniel asked her to help because he was running late. We called him, and he said it was a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding. That word should be buried in the graveyard of bad husbands. I thanked Mrs. Palmer and hung up. Then I called Daniel. He answered on the fourth ring that I'm in the middle of something. 'Did you send Vanessa to Noah's school?' Silence, then Claire. 'Lower your voice.' My voice iced low. She offered to help. I was stuck in a meeting. 'She is not approved topic up my child.' 'Our child.' 'Then act like his father.' His tone sharpened. 'Be careful.' I smiled, though he could not see it. 'No, Daniel, you be careful.' I hung up before he could answer. My hands were shaking now. So, I placed them flat in the kitchen counter. Then, I opened the school portal and removed Daniel's ability to add pickup contacts without me approval. I emailed Mrs. Palmer and the school office in writing. It requested that no one outside the approved list be allowed access to Noah, regardless of verbal permission. I copied myself. Evidence is not always dramatic. Sometimes it is an email sent at 3:42 p.m. That night, Daniel came home angry. He found me packing Noah's lunch. 'You embarrassed me,' he said. 'I placed apple slices into a container at school. You made it sound like you endangered him. You sent your mistress to pick up our son.' His face changed. There it was, the word between us. Mistress. He walked to the kitchen door and checked the hallway, as if the house itself might overhear. 'Don't use that word. Is there a better one?' He stepped closer. 'Vanessa and I have a complicated history. I'm sure that is what you call it. You don't understand. I understand money left our son's account. You understand she went to his school. You understand Noah is asking if he can bear a place.' Daniel's mouth tightened. 'Caleb is innocent. So is Noah. You think I don't know that?' 'I think you know it and are choosing to hurt him anyway.' Daniel looked at me with real hatred then. Not because I was wrong, because I had named him clearly. He said, 'You have been comfortable in this house for years because I let you be.' I slowly closed the lunchbox. 'This house was mine before you had a key.' His face flushed. I had never used that sentence before. I had avoided it because I knew it wounded him. I had protected his pride more carefully than he protected our son no more. Daniel walked away first, but before he went upstairs, he turned back that Noah's birthday is in 2 weeks. He said we are going to talk about Caleb before then. No, I said you're going to talk that I am going to decide what my son is exposed to. He gave a short, cold laugh. You don't get to decide everything. After he disappeared upstairs, I opened me laptop. Rachel had sent a message. Start a written timeline. Include dates, quotes, witnesses, and impact on Noah. The pattern matters. I began typing date. Tuesday, April 28th. Daniel sent Vanessa to Noah's school without my consent. Noah asked where the family members get to stay. Daniel said, "Caleb is innocent." I said, "So is Noah." Then I saved it in the folder named Noah. I did not know yet how far Daniel would go, but I knew this the next time he tried to rewrite our family in public. I would have the truth ready. The Shancito get Caleb's DNA came from a water bottle shaped like a rocket. I did not plan it. I did not set a trap for a child that mattered to me. It happened at the indoor soccer center on a Saturday morning. Noah had a class there. I had signed him up because he need movement, friends, and 1 hour a week when nobody asked him adult questions. I was sitting on the bleachers with coffee I had forgotten to drink when I saw Daniel walk in with Caleb. My first thought was that he had lost his mind. My second thought was worse. He had done it on purpose. Caleb wore new cleats. Daniel carried his bag. Vanessa was not with them. Daniel looked around until he saw me, then smiled like a man presenting proof of his own kindness. Noah saw them, too. He missed the ball. His coach called, "You okay, Noah?" Noah nodded, but his ears went tread. Daniel climbed the bleachers and sat 2 rows below me. Sincidence, I asked. Caleb wanted to try soccer. He said, "There are 12 soccer centers in his county. This one has the best program." Noah's program. Daniel's jaw moved. "You can't keep acting like Caleb doesn't exist." "I'm not acting like Caleb doesn't exist. I'm objecting to you forcing him into Noah's safe spaces." Daniel turned away. "You make everything sound ugly." I watched Caleb run onto the field. He was not a bad child. He looked nervous. He kept glancing at Daniel for approval. That was the tragedy. Daniel was not only hurting Noah, he was making promises to Caleb he had no right to make after class. The boys ended up at same bench changing shoes. Noah was quiet. Caleb tried to show him a sticker in his water bottle. "It glows." Caleb said. Noah looked at it politely. "Cool." Daniel watched like he was directing a family commercial when Caleb ran to the restroom. He left the rocket bottle on the bench. A few minutes later, the coach called all parents to collect schedules for the next session. Daniel stepped away. Noah bent to tie his shoe. The bottle rolled off the bench and stopped near my foot. I picked it automatically. There was saliva on the straw. My heart beat once hard. Then I heard Rachel's voice in my head carefully. Legally, I did not hide the bottle. I did not steal it. I carried it to the front desk. A boy left this. It told the receptionist. Caleb, Daniel Mercer brought him. She put it in the lost and found bin. I took a photo of the bottle in the bin with the time visible on the wall clock. Then I called Rachel from the parking lot. She listened and said, "Do not touch it again. We need to discuss whether there is a lawful way to establish paternity if Daniel is making claims that affect your child and marital finances. Can we use Daniel's DNA? You are his spouse, not his doctor. But if Daniel has personal items in the marital home, there may be options for approval informational test. It may not be admissible by itself, but it can guide strategy." That evening, Daniel threw his gym towel into the laundry room, left oust electric toothbrush head in the trash, and went to shower. I stood in the hallway looking at the trash can. Marriage makes some things ordinary. You clean hair from sinks. You wash socks. You throw away the evidence of another person's body every day. I collected the toothbrush head, sealed it in a clean bag, labeled the date, and placed it where Rachel told me to keep it until we confirmed the lab process. I felt sick afterward, not because I felt guilty, because this was what my marriage had become. Not trust, not partnership. Chain of custody. The lab was discreet, located between Aidental office and a tax preparer. A woman named Maris Soul explained the limits. "This private test can indicate biological probability," she said. "For court use, you would need a legally witnessed collection. But many clients use private testing to decide their next steps." I gave her Daniel's sample for Caleb. We needed more. Rachel later arranged a different route. Vanessa had submitted medical reimbursement forms through Daniel's company benefits portal, claiming Daniel as Caleb's responsible adult for several expenses. That IT was reckless. It opened a door. Rachel sent a formal preservation letter to Daniel's company after we confirmed marital funds had been used. She did not accuse. She requested records. Meanwhile, the soccer center called me. Mrs. Mercer, you reported a lost water bottle last week. No one claimed it. We usually discard items after 7 days. Did you want it? Donated. I stood very still. Could you hold it for pickup? I asked. I can return it to the family. Rachel approved a private investigator license to collect abandoned property from the facility with documentation. It sounded excessive. It was exactly the kind of boring, careful step that keeps truth from being dismissed as revenge point 10 days later. The lab called the reporters ready. Marisol said, I drove there alone. The envelope was white, plain, almost insulting in its simplicity. Marisol placed it on the table between us. Do you want to open it here? I nodded. My fingers did not shake until I saw the numbers. Probability of paternity, 000%. I read the line again. Daniel was not Caleb's father. For a moment, I felt no triumph, only a strange sadness. Daniel had betrayed me. Vanessa had deceived him. And 2 children were standing in the blast zone of adult vanity. It hot of Caleb looking at Daniel after every kick. I thought of Noah asking if family members get to stay. I folded the report carefully. Marisol said, I'm sorry. So am I said in the parking lot. I sat behind the wheel and let myself breathe. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Daniel appeared. Mom wants dinner Sunday. We need to present united front before Noah's birthday. Vanessa and Caleb may come by after. Do not make it uncomfortable. I looked at lab envelope on the passenger seat. Then I typed back. Sunday works. Hasn't a thumbs up. He thought obedience looked like silence. He had never learned that silence can also be preparation. Ellen Mercer served roast chicken when she wanted control. She believed food made people easier to asham. A full table, warm plates, her good silver, and suddenly cruelty could dress itself as family concern. Daniel's parents lived in a white colonial house with trimmed hedges and framed photographs of Daniel at every age. There were fewer photos of Noah than there should have been, and none where it looked comfortable when we arrived Sunday evening. Ellen kissed, Noah first, Daniel second, and me last, Claire, she said, touching my cheek as if checking a bruise. You look tired. I've been busy with what? She asked, thinking. Her smile paused. Dinner began politely. Noah sat beside me, pushing peas around his plate. Daniel's father, Robert, asked him about school. Daniel checked his phone under the table. Ellen watched me the way hawks watch field after dessert. She cleared her throat. Daniel tells us there has been some tension. I place my napkin beside my plate. Daniel tells people many things. Daniel shot me a warning look. Ellen folded her hands. This family has always believed in handling difficult matters with dignity. I waited. She continued, Vanessa and her little boy have been through a great deal. Whatever happened between adults, Caleb should not be punished. Noah looked down. I touched his knee under the table. Robert frowned. Maybe we shouldn't discuss Teeson in front of Noah. Daniel said, he needs to get used to reality. I turned to him. What reality? His eyes hardened. That families change. Do they? I asked. Or do people break them and call the pieces change? Ellen. Claire. This bitterness isn't attractive. There it was. A wife's Spain reduced to poor manners. Daniel leaned back. Caleb may come to Noah's birthday. No. Clear's throat. The word was calm. Everyone turned to me. Daniel laughed once. Excuse me. No. Caleb isn't coming to Noah's birthday as your announcement. Ellen's face tightened. Announcement. Daniel put his hand over his glass. Mom. But Ellen had already heard enough to want more. Daniel. Hair about his forehead. Performing burden. Vanessa believes Caleb is my son. Noah made a small sound. I felt it in my bones. Ellen's hand went to her chest. Your son. Robert stared at Daniel. Is this true? Daniel looked at me. Then Atha's father. It was before Claire, and we're serious. A lie. Not just to me, to the room. I thought of the calendar, the conference receipts, the 6-year-old child. The timeline did not fit, but Daniel needed his sin to look older than our vows. Ellen recovered faster than Robert. If there is a child, she said, that we have responsibilities. I looked at her. To Noah, too. Of course. To Noah, but he has had both parents all his life. Caleb has not. Noah's fork slipped from his hand and hit the plate. Daniel said, Buddy, it's okay. Noah did not look at him. I stood. Noah, get your jacket. Daniel pushed back his chair. We're not done. Yes, I said. We are. Ellen rose too. Claire, don't you dare storm out, because this family is trying to do the right thing. I turned to her. The right thing would have been asking how your grandson felt before asking what my husband's mistress needed. Her face flushed. Daniel came around the table. Do not call her that in my parents' house. What should I call a woman who sent herself to my child's school and accepted money from my son's college fund? Robert looked sharply at Daniel. What money? Daniel's face changed. Good. He had not told them that part. I picked up Noah's jacket from the chair. Ellen's voice dropped. Claire, if you push Daniel too far, you may not like what happens. I smiled, faintly 4 years. Ellen's threats had worked because I wanted peace. I wanted holidays. I wanted Noah to have grandparents. I wanted Daniel to love me more than he feared his mother's judgment. But wanting peace had made me available for war. I took my phone from my pocket and stopped the recording. And Daniel saw the movement. What was that documentation? His eyes went dark. You recorded my family. I recorded a conversation about my child, my marriage, and marital funds. Ellen looked outraged. That is disgusting. No, I said. Disgusting is telling a 7-year-old he should be grateful because another child had less of his father. No one answered in the car. Noah was silent. Halfway home, he whispered, Mom, is Caleb really Dad's son? I kept both hands on the wheel. Your dad believes something? I said, carefully, but adults have to prove important things before they change a child's life. Do I have to share my birthday? No. His breath shook. I pulled over into a grocery store parking lot. Unbuckled and climbed into the back seat beside him. He leaned into me without crying. I don't hate Caleb, he said. I know. I just don't want Dad to give him my wish. That broke me. Quietly I held him and looked through the windshield at the dark road ahead. Noon gets your wish, I said. That night after Noah fell asleep, I opened the drawer where I kept legal documents. Marriage certificate, Noah's birth certificate, house deed, prenuptial agreement. Daniel had signed the prenup with lazy confidence 8 years ago because he had less then and expected to have more later. My grandmother's house would remain mine. My inheritance would remain separate. Any money taken from accounts designated for Noah without mutual consent would be subject to payment in divorce proceedings. I scanned everything. Then I emailed Rachel. Subject, ready to move forward. I attached the recording from dinner. Then I opened the birthday party invitation list and saw a new RSVP. Vanessa Cole. Caleb Cole. Number tending to. Daniel had added them himself. I looked at the screen for a long time. Then I did not delete them. Instead, I forwarded the updated guest list to Maya. Please make sure your phone has enough storage Saturday. She replied within seconds. Always. The first thing I cut off was the credit card. Not Daniel's personal card. Not yet. I wanted him careless. I froze the joint card, linked to household discretionary spending. The one he had used for Vanessa's dinners, Caleb's clothes, and a rental deposit disguised as vendor expense. The bank representative asked, Would you like us to notify the secondary cardholder? No. I said, I'll handle it. Handling it meant letting Daniel discover the boundary in public. It happened that evening at a restaurant called Luma, according to the decline alert that flashed on my phone. I had never eaten there. Daniel had claimed he hated overpriced mood lighting. The attempted charge was $12864. Zero declined. 3 minutes later, Daniel called. I let it ring. He called again. I answered while folding Noah's laundry. Did you do something to the card? He demanded. Yes. What the hell? Claire? It froze the joint card. I am at a business dinner with Vanessa. Silence. Imachidnut soks. Dinosaur with dinosaur. Blue stripe with blue stripe. Daniel lowered his voice. You are humiliating. You used a family credit line to pay for dates with your mistress. I stop at it. You don't know what you're talking about. I know lumber is not a school deposit. He exhaled sharply. This is financial abuse. That almost made me law. No, I said financial abuse is taking money from your child's education fund and giving it to a woman you are sleeping with. He hung up. I placed the folded socks in Noah's drawer and sat on the edge of his bed. His room still had glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. Daniel and I had stuck them up when he was pregnant, arguing about constellations. We both pretended talk no memory is dangerous. It tries to soften facts. So, I opened my laptop and returned to the spreadsheet. Rachel had asked me to build a money trail. Every transfer, every credit charge, every missing deposit, every reimbursement request, every date. Daniel claimed Tobe working late. The pattern was worse than I expected. Vanessa's apartment deposit had come from our emergency fund. Caleb's summer camp had been paid through Daniel's business card and reimbursed as client entertainment. A pediatric dental bill had been split across 2 cards. There were cash withdrawals before days. Daniel said he had overnight work trips. Then I found the birthday deposit, a second cake order, not Noah's dinosaur cake, a custom cake from another bakery with 2 names on it, Noah and Caleb. My hands went cold. Daniel was not merely bringing them. He had planned a reveal, a performance, a forced merger of 2 children under one frosting-covered lie. I called the bakery. Hi, I said. This is Claire Mercer. My husband placed an order connected to my son's birthday party. I need to confirm details. The woman on the phone hesitated. I see an order under Daniel Mercer. Is the cake design still adjustable? Pickup is Saturday morning, so minor changes only. What does the inscription say? She read it kindly, not knowing she was cutting me. Happy birthday. Noah and Caleb, brothers by blood, family by love. I closed my eyes. Cancel the inscription. I said that I'm sorry. Leave the cake plain. Mrs. Mercer, your husband paid. I will pay the full amount now. Please send the receipt to my email. She paused. All right. After I hung up, I forwarded the receipt to Rachel. Then I called the original bakery and confirmed Noah's dinosaur cake was still ready. 1 cake point, 1 name. 1 birthday. Daniel came home after midnight. I was waiting in the kitchen. He looked less polished than usual. His shirt was wrinkled. Anger had loosened the careful man he showed the world. You froze the card, he said. Yes, that you can lead the cake inscription. Yes. Has stepped closer. You are acting insane. I slid a printed page across the counter. What is this? He asked. Your transfer to Vanessa. He glanced down, then away. She needed help with our son's college fund. I was going to replace it. When he said nothing, I placed another page on top. This is the school pickup incident. This is the second cake order. This is your mother telling me Caleb deserves room in my family. This is the guest list you changed without my consent. Daniel stared the papers for the first time. He seemed to understand that I was not merely hurt. I was organized. He tried another voice, then softer. Claire, I know this looks bad. It is bad that I made mistakes. You made plans. His jaw tightened. Vanessa didn't ask for the situation. He said, no, she just accepted rent, school fees, dinners, and me, son's birthday cake. You always that hat. He snapped. You make yourself the victim. I looked at him. Something inside me, something old and tired, finally stood up. I am not the victim, I said. I am the person keeping records. He laughed, but it did not land. You think a spreadsheet makes you powerful? No, I said. The truth does. Daniel leaned both hands on the counter. Oh, you want a divorce? The question hung between us 6 months ago. I would have cried that night. I simply said, I want protection for Noah. That is not an answer. It is the only answer that matters. He stared at me for a long moment. Then he said, if you try to keep him from me, I will fight you. I expect you to. You won't win. I gathered the papers and placed them back into the folder. That I said is what you have always misunderstood. What? I don't need to destroy you to win. I just need to stop letting you use me. He left the kitchen first. I heard him pacing upstairs. A door closed. Water ran. My phone buzzed. A message from Vanessa Claire. I know this is hard. I hope someday you understand that Caleb did not choose any of this. Daniel wants to do the right thing. Please do not punish a child because your marriage is changing. I read it twice. Then I saved a screenshot. I did not answer. Some women want a reaction more than they want peace. I gave her evidence instead. By Friday. Everyone knew something was wrong. Not because I told them, because Daniel did. Men like Daniel are careful in public until they feel control slipping. Then they begin recruiting sympathy. His version traveled quickly. Claire is struggling. Claire is jealous of a child. Claire cannot accept Daniel's past. Claire is making Noah anxious. Claire froze family money out of spite. Ellen called 3 times. I did not answer. Robert sent one message. I do not know everything, but I hope Noah is okay. I replied, Noah is my priority. That he did not respond. But he did not defend Daniel either. That mattered. Saturday morning. The day of the party. I woke before sunrise. The house was quiet. For once, Daniel had slept in the guest room without pretending it was because of a late call. Noah was still curled under his blanket, one hand under his cheek. I stood in his doorway and watched him breathe. 7 years old enough to feel rejection, too young to name manipulation. I went downstairs and packed my purse. Phone fully charged, portable battery, printed bank records, printed school email, printed cake receipt, prenup copy, divorce petition draft, DNA report sealed in a white envelope. I placed the envelope in the inside pocket. Daniel entered the kitchen while I was zipping the purse. He looked tired for a second. I saw the man I married, not because he was there, but because my heart still remembered how to search for him. Claire, he said. I turned. Can we not do this today? I almost asked what this meant. His affair, his lie, his attempt to introduce another child at our son's party. Instead, I said, I agree. Today's Noah's birthday. Relief crossed his face. He mistook my restraint for surrender. Thank you, he said, then heroined even that. Vanessa and Caleb will come for cake only. I already told them. No. His expression hardened. We talked about this. You talked. I listened. Don't make me choose in front of everyone. I looked at him. You already chose. You just don't like witnesses. He stepped closer. Caleb is me son. I held his gaze. Are you sure? The question hit him strangely. A flicker. Annoyance. Then doubt. Then anger. What kind of disgusting thing is that to say? A careful one. His voice dropped. Do not go there. Claire. I picked up the cooler bag with juice boxes. Then don't bring him to my son scandals. He grabbed my wrist. Not hard enough to bruise. Hard enough to remind me he believed he could stop me. I looked down at his hand. Let go. He did, but the moment changed us. There are lines that once crossed. Make the past look different. I suddenly remembered every time he blocked a doorway during an argument. Every time he took my key so we could finish talking. Every time he called control concern. I left the kitchen without another word. At noon, Myra arrived to help set up. She hugged him longer than usual. You sure? She whispered. No, I said, but I'm ready. That's better than sure. The party venue was a rented garden, space behind a community art center. Noah loved it because there was a mural off whales on one wall and a wooden stage where children could perform dramatic nonsense. The dinosaur cake arrived at 2. Perfect. One named Noah. He gasped when he saw it. Mom, it has lava. Chocolate lava. I said. He hugged me around the waist. This is Thebiest. I held him tightly. Whatever happened later, he would remember that before the storm. His mother gave him the cake he asked for. Guests arrived. Children shouted. Parents chatted. Daniel played his part well. He carried presents, shook hands, and smiled like a father in a brochure. If I had not known, I might have believed him. At 4:15, Maya touched my arm. They're here. I turned. Vanessa stood at the entrance holding Caleb's hand. She wore pale blue this time, almost matching the party decorations. Caleb held a wrapped gift. Daniel moved toward them immediately. No hesitation, no apology. Noah saw them from the craft table. His smile faded. I walked to him first. Remember what I told you? I asked. He nodded. My wish is mine. Yes. He looked at the entrance. Do I have to be mean? No, sweetheart. You never have to be mean. You also never have to disappear. He nodded again, then went back to his friends, though his shoulders stayed tense. Vanessa approached me with the gift. Claire, she said softly, thank you for allowing us to come. I didn't. Her smile faltered. Daniel appeared beside her. Let's keep this civil for Noah. Vanessa added. I looked at her. She had learned to use Michael's name like a shield. I said, enjoy the party. Then I walked away for the next hour. Daniel performed fatherhood for 2 boys. He helped Caleb with a game. He called Noah over and insisted they take a photo together. Noah obeyed with the stiff face of a child trying not to make adults angry. Maya recorded from near the drinks table. Ellen arrived late, swept in with Robert behind her, and kissed Caleb on the head before greeting Noah that went into the record. 2. At 5, the staff began clearing space for cake. Daniel disappeared for 3 minutes. When he turned, he held a cake topper I had never seen. 2 little plastic boys standing side by side. He tried to place it on Noah's cake. I caught his wrist and his eyes flashed. It's a decoration. It's a statement. Vanessa whispered, Daniel, please. But her eyes were bright with anticipation. The crowd began to notice. Daniel lowered his voice. If you embarrass me today, is where you'll what? I asked. He stopped because Maya was closer now because Rachel, my lawyer, had arrived, quietly near the back, invited as my friend from work. Because Daniel finally sensed the room was not entirely his. He placed the topper beside the cake instead of on it. Small victory, temporary. Ellen clapped. Children. Cake time. Noah stepped forward. Caleb remained beside Vanessa until Daniel called him. Come here, buddy. Buddy. Noah flinched. Daniel guided Caleb to the cake. Vanessa lifted her chin. The candles were placed. 7 of them. I lit them one by one. Parents gathered with phones. Children leaned forward. Daniel put his hand on Caleb's shoulder and said loudly, Stand with Noah. The exact moment had arrived. Andy felt completely calm. The flames shook in the afternoon breeze. 7 candles, 7 small lights, 7 years off my son's life. Reduced by Daniel to astage for his confession. Noah stood on the left side of the cake. Caleb stood in the right. Daniel placed himself behind them like a proud father of 2. Vanessa stood beside Ellen, one hand pressed to her chest. The guests watched with the hungry discomfort of people witnessing disaster while pretending they are only seeing a family moment. Daniel smiled. Before we sing, I want to see something. I heard Maya shift behind him. Rachel stood near the mural wall, silent. Daniel continued. Life is not always simple. Sometimes adults make mistakes. Sometimes the past comes back in ways we don't expect. Vanessa lowered her eyes beautifully. Noah stared at the candles. But children, Daniel said, that children should never pay for adult fear. Caleb is part of my life. He deserves love. Noah is my son, and nothing changes that. Nothing changes that. The sentence was meant to comfort, that it sounded like a warning. Daniel looked at me, and I hope Claire can find enough grace today to let both boys be celebrated. There it was, the public trap. If I objected, I was graceless. If I stayed silent, I agreed. If I cried, I was unstable. If I walked away, I ruined the party. Ellen whispered, loudly, beautiful. Vanessa's eyes shone. Noah looked at me, his face pale. I stepped forward. Daniel, I said, are you finished? He blinked. Claire, not now, you chose now. The room went still. He forced a laugh. Let's not do this in front of the kids. That would have been wise. I said, before you put both of them in front of a cake and called it love. Vanessa touched Caleb's shoulder. Claire, please. Caleb doesn't understand that you're right. I said he doesn't. That we adults should not use him to force Allie into another child's birthday. Daniel's face darkened. Enough. I raked into my purse. He saw the envelope for 1 second. Confusion crossed his face. Then fear. What is that? He asked. The reason we are not blowing out those candles yet. Murmurs moved through the guests. Noah whispered, Mom. I touched his back, that you're okay. Then I faced the room. It did not invite Vanessa and Caleb today. Daniel added them to the guest list without my consent. He also ordered a second cake. Inscription calling Noah and Caleb brothers by blood. Someone gasped. Daniel snapped. Claire. I held a poem page. I canceled it. Vanessa said softly, that was cruel. I turned to her. No. Cruel was letting a 7-year-old stand beside his birthday cake while adults tried to replace his sense of safety. Daniel stepped toward me. Rachel moved too, just slightly. He noticed and stopped. I unfolded the DNA report. Daniel has told his family and tried to tell mine that Caleb is his biological son. He has used that claim to justify moving money from our household accounts, sending Vanessa to my son's school, and forcing Caleb into Noah's life. Ellen said, Claire, this is not appropriate. I looked at her. Neither was asking my son to share his birthday because your son could not keep his affair private. Robert said nothing. His face had gone gray. Daniel's voice dropped. You don't know what you're redoing. I know exactly what I'm doing. I turned the report outward. This is approbate DNA test conducted after Daniel repeatedly claimed paternity and used marital funds on that basis. Daniel Mercer is not Caleb Cole's biological father. The room changed. It was not loud at first. It was silence deepening. Daniel stared at the page as if the letters might rearrange themselves. Vanessa took 1 step back. That's fake. I looked at her. It can be repeated through a court-approved test. Rachel has already prepared the request. Rachel gave a small nod from the back. Daniel turned to Vanessa. What is she talking about? Vanessa's mouth opened. Nothing came out. Caleb looked between the adults. I hated all of us in that moment. Every adult there had failed him in some way. Some by lying, some by watching. I crouched in front of Noah and Caleb. Noah, I said softly, go with Maya for a minute. Noah grabbed my sleeve. Mom, you are not in trouble. None of this is your fault. I looked at Caleb. You are not in trouble either. His eyes filled with tears. Maya came forward and guided both boys toward the craft room with 2 other parents. That was why I had asked her to be ready. The children did not need the next part once they were gone. Daniel exploded. Youdist him behind my back. You brought him into my son's birthday under a false claim. I believed he was mine. I looked at him. You wanted to believe he was yours because it made your affair look like responsibility instead of betrayal, Vanessa whispered. Daniel, I can't explain. He turned on her. Is it true? She began crying. I thought, is it true? I wasn't. Sure. The words landed harder than any confession. Daniel staggered back. Ellen sat down. Robert covered his face. I pulled out the second set of papers. This is the money you moved from Noah's education fund. This is the apartment deposit. This is the school pickup incident. This is the cake order. This is the message Vanessa sent me accusing me of punishing a child while accepting money taken from mine. Vanessa wiped her face. You are twisting everything. No, I said. I am placing everything in order. Daniel looked at guests, his coworkers, cousins, neighbors, parents from Noah's school, people who had laughed nervously when he called for grace. No one was laughing now. He reached for me. Claire, stop. I stepped back. You asked for room. I said, here is the room. Everyone can see exactly what you built. Then I picked up the divorce papers from the envelope's back pocket. Daniel's eyes dropped to them. His voice changed. Claire, there it was. Not anger, fear. I placed the papers on the cake table beside the candles. Happy birthday to our son, I said, and goodbye to this marriage. The candles were still burning. I turned to Noah, who stood at the craft room doorway with Maya's hands on his shoulders. Ready, sweetheart? I asked. He looked at the cake, then at Daniel, then at me. I ret one candle. The wind had weakened. The party sang quietly at first, then stronger. Noah closed his eyes and made a wish. This time, no one stood beside him pretending to. Own it. He blew out every candle himself. After candles went out, the room did not return to normal. It could not. Normal was the mask. The mask was on the floor now. Children ate cake in the side room under Mia's watch. A few parents helped keep them busy with crafts and music. The adults remained near the long table, trapped between manners and scandal. Daniel held the DNA report so tightly the paper bent. Vanessa cried into a napkin, but her tears had changed texture. They were no longer soft. They were frantic. Ellen whispered, Daniel, say something. He looked at his mother as if she had asked him to stop a house from burning with his hands. Then he turned to me. How long have you had this long enough? You let me bring him here. I stared at him. You added them to the guest list. You ordered the cake inscription. You called him your son in front of our child. You could have told me privately. I could have before you sent Vanessa to Noah's school. Before you used Noah's money. Before you turned his birthday into a loyalty test. His face twisted. You wanted to humiliate him. No, I said. You humiliated yourself. I chose witnesses. That sentence traveled through the room. One of Daniel's cousins looked away. A school parent whispered something to her husband. Robert stood very still, his eyes fixed on the bank records. Vanessa suddenly stepped forward. Claire has always hated me. She said she has been waiting for a way to punish me. I almost admired the speed. Daniel looked at her. Did you know? She grabbed his arm. I believed it could be true. That is not the same thing. You told me you loved him. Daniel flinched. The room heard it too. Vanessa realized it and pressed harder. You said Caleb felt like yours. You said blood didn't matter. No, Daniel said slowly. You told me I abandoned him. I was scared. You let me pay for his school. I needed help with me son's college fund. I asked. She turned on me. You had everything. A house, a husband, a perfect child. You have no idea what it's like to be alone. That I felt my anger cool into something sharper. You are right, I said. I don't know what it is like to use my child as a key to another woman's house. Her face hardened. That was the real Vanessa. Not trembling, not soft, furious that the door had closed. Daniel looked sick. Rachel came to my side. She did not speak until Daniel noticed her. Who are you? He asked. Rachel Evans. She said, CLA's attorney. Ellen stood, attorney. Claire, this has gone too far. Rachel handed Daniel a card. All communication regarding divorce, the repayment of misused funds, and temporary custody arrangements can go through my office. Daniel stared at the card as if it were a weapon. This is Myson's birthday. He said, yes, I said. And you will remember that every time you think I acted too soon. Robert finally spoke. Daniel, did you take money from Noah's account? Daniel's jaw clenched. I moved funds temporarily. Robert's voice was quiet. Did Claire agree? Daniel did not answer. Ellen looked between them. This is not the time to attack him. Robert turned to her. When is the time? After he empties the account completely. Ellen's mouth closed. That was the first family reversal. Small but real. Daniel saw Edu. Dad, you don't understand. No, Robert said. I understand enough. Vanessa tried to leave. Then Rachel stepped aside, not stopping her. You are free to go. The preservation letter regarding communications and transfers has already been sent. Vanessa froze. What preservation letter? Daniel looked at her. What did you do? I pulled out the printed message she had sent me. Claire, I know this is hard. I hope someday you understand that Caleb did not choose any of this. I placed it beside the bank records. Every message matters. I said every transfer matters. Every time you used Caleb to pressure me matters. Vanessa's eyes darted toward the exit for the first time. She looked less like a rival and more like someone whose plan had gone beyond her control. Daniel lowered his voice. Claire, we can't talk at home. No, we cannot. This is between us. I looked at the cake table, the report, the divorce papers, the family who had watched my son's humiliation. You made it public. His voice broke slightly. I didn't know Caleb wasn't mine. That explains why Vanessa fooled you. It does not explain why you punished Noah for your guilt. He had no answer because the truth of a marriage is not only in who cheats. Itis in who pays the bill afterward. Myson had been paying. Mara appeared at the doorway. Claire. I turned. Noah wants you. I left Daniel standing there. Noah sat on the stage steps, holding a paper dinosaur mask. Caleb sat across the room with another parent crying quietly. My heart ached for both boys. Noah looked up. Is the party over? I sat beside him. Only if you want to be. Is Dad leaving? Not because of you. He looked at his shoes. Did I do something wrong when I didn't want Caleb to blow the candles? I pulled him into my arms. No, your birthday belongs to you. Your feelings belong to you. You are Alouette to want one day that is yours. His breath shook against my shoulder. Are you mad at Dad? He asked. Yes, I said, but I am handling it. Are we still a family? I closed my eyes. This was the question Daniel should have feared. I answered carefully. You and I are Alwesa family. Your dad is still your dad, but the way grown-ups live together may change when someone breaks trust. Henneted slowly. Children understand more truth than adults think. As long as truth is not used as a weapon when we're turned to the main room. Many guests had left. Some hugged me before going. Some avoided my eyes. One mother from Noah's class squeezed my hand and whispered, I'm sorry. He deserved better. I said, he still does. Daniel waited near the entrance. Claire, he said, please. Noah tightened his hand around mine. I looked at Daniel's hand, reaching toward us. Then I looked at Noah. Not tonight. Daniel's face crumpled. But I did not let that move me. Regret is not repair outside. The evening air was cool. Maya carried Noah's presents. Rachel walked beside us to the car. As I buckled Noah into his seat, he said, Mom, yes. My wish was that we go home. I kissed his forehead. We are behind us. Daniel called my name once. I closed the car door. Daniel came home at 11:47 that night. I knew because the security camera sent an alert to my phone. By then, Noah was asleep in my room, curled against my side like he had when he was small. I slipped out carefully and went downstairs before Daniel could use his key. I opened the door but kept the chain on. He stood on the porch, eyes red, hair damp from running his hands through it. Claire, he said, let me in. No, this is my home. No, I said, it is not. The sentence landed harder in the dark. His face changed. Are you serious? Your things will be packed. You can arrange pickup through Rachel. You cannot lock me out of my own house. I can when Theed is in my name. And my attorney has advised temporary separation after you grabbed my wrist this morning. Hestered at me of all the things I said, that one shocked him most. Not the fare, not the money, not the birth date, the fact that I had counted his grip as something real. I didn't hurt you. You reminded me you thought you could. He looked away. I was upset. So was I did not grab you. He lowered his voice that I lost everything today. No, today you saw what you had already thrown away. Claire, please. Vanessa lied to me. Yes, his eyes lifted. Desperate. You know that matters. It matters to your pride that it does not erase what you did to me or Noah. He pressed his hand to the doorframe. I thought he was my son, and you treated Noah like an inconvenience because of it. I was trying to do the right thing. No, I said you were trying to make your betrayal look noble. He flinched for years. I had softened truth before giving it to him. I wrapped it in maybe. And I feel and I understand. That night I gave it bare. Daniel's voice cracked. Where am I supposed to go? I almost laughed at the old reflex resigned in me. The need to solve his discomfort. T.O. make tea. To find a blanket. To turn his consequences into my responsibility. Instead, I said, a hotel? Your mother's house. Vanessa's apartment. If she still answers. His face hardened at Vanessa's name. She ruined my life. I shook my head. She revealed your character. You ruined your life. He stepped back as if I had slapped him. Then he saw the small box beside the door. Inside were his wallet, laptop, work keys, and 2 days off clothes. I had packed practical things, not sentimental ones. A kindness with a boundary. He looked at the box. You planned this. I prepared for it. He picked it up slowly. Can I see Noah? Not tonight. He is asleep. Rachel will send temporary visitation, terms tomorrow. Emmy's father. Then start acting like 1B, not making tonight worse. For a moment, I thought he would argue. Then looked past me into the house. At the hallway where our wedding photo had hung that morning. It was gone. I had taken it down after putting Noah to bed. The wall looked cleaner without it. Daniel saw the blank space. Something in him gave way. Did you ever love me? He scared. The cruelty of that question was almost impressive. After everything, Hestel wanted to be the one wounded most. Yes, I said, that is why you had so many chances to stop. I closed the door the next morning. Rachel filed the petition. Temporary custody. Exclusive use of the residence. Repayment of funds removed from Noah's education account. Preservation of Daniel's financial records. No unauthorized contact between Vanessa and Noah. No introduction of fun-related adults or children into Noah's school or activities without written agreement. Daniel responded with rage. He sent 17 messages before noon. You are overreacting. You are using. No against him. You embarrassed me in front of everyone. I was a victim. 2. Vanessa lied. You should have told me privately why mother is devastated. Do not make this uglier. I sent them to Rachel. She replied with a single line. Do not respond. So, I didn't. That was harder than exposing him. Silence, after years of explaining yourself, feels like stepping off a cliff and discovering ground. By Wednesday, Daniel had hired his own attorney. By Friday, he requested shared custody and access to the house. Rachel smiled when she read his filing. He wants the house. He always wanted the house. Good. Then we will let the documents speak. At the first temporary hearing, Daniel wore a gray suit, an expression of a man expecting reason to favor him because it always had. His attorney argued that it had acted emotionally, publicly embarrassed Daniel, and created instability for Noah. Rachel stood and presented the timeline. School pickup incident, unauthorized guest list change, joint card misuse, Noah's college fund withdrawal, recorded family dinner, birthday party footage, evidence that Daniel used alleged paternity to pressure Noah into an unwanted public relationship with Caleb. House deed prenup. The judge, a woman with silver hair and tired eyes. watched the birthday video without expression on screen. Daniel placed Caleb beside Noah on screen. Noah's face changed. I looked down at my hands. I could expose Daniel that I could protect Noah, but I could not erase that moment. When the video ended, the courtroom was silent. The judge looked at Daniel. Mr. Mercer, whether you believe this child was biologically yours or not, the method by which you introduced this situation to your son was deeply concerning. Daniel's attorney stood. Your Honor, my client was under emotional distress due to misinformation from MS Cole. The judge replied, that may explain his conflict with MS Cole. The IT does not explain his disregard for Noah. Temporary orders were granted. Noah would remain with me. Daniel would have supervised visits for the first month, transitioning only if Noah's therapist recommended it. Daniel had torped the education fund within 30 days. Vanessa was to have no contact with Noah. The house remained mine outside the courtroom. Daniel approached me. Rachel stepped between us. He ignored her. Claire, please, I can fix this. I looked at him for the first time. I saw him clearly without the filter of lover history. He did not want to fix while the broke. He wanted to return to a world where breaking it had no cost. No, I said, you can face it. Then I walked away. Noah's first supervised visit with Daniel took place at a family counseling center with beige walls and a basket of stress balls near the reception desk. It waited in the parking lot. Daniel arrived 10 minutes early carrying a gift bag too large for a simple visit. He saw him and walked over. You look good, he said. I did not answer. He tried again. How is he? You can ask him inside. His jaw tightened. He was not used to receiving only the information. He had a right to. I brought him the new game system. Rachel already told your attorney, gift should be modest. It's for me, son. It's for your guilt. He looked wounded. I let him. Noah got out of the car, slowly. He had chosen his dinosaur hoodie. He held my hand until the counselor opened the door. Daniel crouched. Hey, buddy. Noah said. Hi, not Dad. Not yet. Pain crossed Daniel's face. I would have felt sorry for him if I did not remember the cake. The counselor guided them inside for 1 hour. I sat in the car and learned that waiting can be an act of discipline. My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. Claire, this is Vanessa. I know you hate me, but Daniel is destroying me now. He says I owe him money. He says I lied. I need you to tell him this was not all my fault. I stared at the message. Then another came. Caleb misses him. Daniel was the only father figure he had. You of all people should understand protecting a child. I saved screenshots. Then I blocked the number. Vanessa was still looking for a woman to absorb the consequences of her choices. It would not be me. After the visit, Noah came out quiet. Daniel followed carrying the unopened gift bag. I'll see you next week, he said to Noah. Noah nodded. Daniel looked at me. Can we talk? No, Claire, no. Noah got into the car. I closed his door. Daniel moved closer. He barely looked at me. He needs time. He needs his family back. I looked at him through the cold afternoon light. You keep using the word family when you mean access. His face hardened. You are enjoying this. There is nothing enjoyable about watching my child learn disappointment. I made a mistake. You made many choices. He lowered his voice that I ended things with Vanessa. That is your business. It should matter. It would have mattered before you brought her to Noah's birthday. His eyes filled with anger and grief. What do you want from me? The repayment, respect for the custody order, communication through attorneys. Nothing else. He laughed bitterly. So that's it. 8 years off marriage, and you become a stranger. No, I said, I became a stranger after you stopped seeing me as your wife. Hal looked away. I got into the car. Noah stared out the window as we drove. Dad cried. He said, finally, I'm sorry you had to see that. He said he was confused. I kept my voice. Even adults can be confused. They are still responsible for what they do. Noah thought about that. Caleb isn't my brother. No, Is he okay? I hope he will be. He looked scared at the party. Noah's eyes filled. I was mad at them. That's normal. Was that bad? No, feelings are not bad. What we do with them matters. He nodded. Then he said that I don't want to share cake with someone because adults lied. I reached over and touched his hand at a red light. You never have to. The divorce moved faster after Daniel realized the court was not impressed by his pain. He repaid Noah's fund, with help from Robert, though the repayment came with a letter from Daniel claiming he had always intended to replace it. Rachel filed it under useful nonsense. Vanessa disappeared from Daniel's public life, but not from the legal mess. Daniel sued her for fraud over money he claimed she obtained under false pretenses. Vanessa responded by threatening to release messages proving Daniel had promised her a future while still married. I did not care who won that fight, but Rachel cared about one thing. If Vanessa claims Daniel knowingly spent marital funds on an affair partner, that helps us. She said, let them destroy each other. Rachel smiled. Let them tell the truth about each other. Ellen called once from Robert's phone. I answered because Noah was with his therapist and I felt strong enough. Claire, she said, sounding older, do I want to see Noah? You can send our quest through Rachel. I am his grandmother. You were also present when he was told to make room at his own birthday. Silence. Then I did not know everything. You knew enough to ask him to accept it. Her breath trembled. Daniel is my son. Noah is mine. I made mistakes. Yes. I would like to apologize to him. That surprised me, not enough to open the door. Write a letter. I said his therapist can decide when he reads it. Ellen did not like that. I heard Aiton the pause, but she said, all right, after I hung up. I sat quietly for a long time. There is a strange grief in holding boundaries against people who almost become human too late. Daniel signed the divorce agreement 3 months after the birthday. He fought over furniture, savings, and language. He wanted the agreement to say reconcilable differences. I wanted misuse of marital funds included in the financial settlement. We compromised legally. Emotionally, I did not. The final mediation took place in a conference room with a long table and bad coffee. Daniel looked thinner. He wore no wedding ring. I had taken mine off the night of the party and placed it in a drawer with the old cake topper I never got to use. Daniel signed first, but then he looked at me. I loved you, he said. I believed him. That was the saddest part. I know, I said, but you loved being forgiven more. He closed Heisies. I signed. The pen moved smoothly. And no thunder. No music. No sudden freedom sweeping the room. Just ink. But when I lifted my hand, my life belonged to me again. 1 year later, Noah asked for a smaller birthday. No big party. He said, just friends. Pizza. Maybe the Science Museum. Cake? I asked. He considered this seriously. Cupcakes. Everyone gets their own. I smiled. Good choice. I invited 6 children. Maya and Robert. Ellen sent a letter through Noah's therapist months earlier. Noah read it and decided he was not ready to see her, but he wanted Grandpa Robert to come. Robert arrived with a telescope wrapped in silver paper. No pressure, Tasher, he said gently. Noah grinned. It might let Mom look. Robert's eyes softened. Daniel had visitation now, unsupervised for short periods, because Noah's therapist believed consistency mattered. But he was not invited to the party. That had been Noah's choice. Daniel asked twice. I answered once. Noah wants separate celebrations this year. Please respect that to his credit. Or perhaps because court orders had taught him restraint. He did. He took Noah to lunch the day before and gave him a sketchbook. Not an expensive console. Noah came home calm. That was progress. Progress did not mean return. On the morning of the museum party, I stood in my kitchen frosting cupcakes. Each one had a small candy planet on top. Maya sat at the counter, stealing broken pretzels. You look happy, she said. I look covered in frosting. That, too. I glanced around the kitchen. The house felt different, now not empty. Open. Daniel's office had become my studio. I had started illustrating children's books again. First, small freelance projects. Then, a contract for a series about a girl who builds machines from broken things. The first advance was not huge, but it was mine. My name on the contract, my bank account, my schedule, my door. Noah ran in wearing a shirt with planets on it. Mom, the cupcakes look like space. That was the goal. Can I put the candles anon? One cupcake or all of them? Head hot about it. One mine. Maya looked at me over his head. We both understood at the museum. The children raced between exhibits, touched meteorites and shouted about dinosaurs despite the party theme being space. Noah laughed more easily now. Not all wounds had vanished, but he no longer scanned every doorway for replacement. Halfway through the party, my phone buzzed. Daniel. I stepped aside and answered. Is he having fun? He asked. Yes. A pause. I won't come. I just wanted to ask. Thank you. Another pause. I found the old dinosaur cake photo. He said from the party. I said nothing. I hate myself when I look at it. That is something to discuss with your therapist. He gave a small, sad laugh. You sound like Rachel. Rachel, I usually write. Claire. I waited. I know we're done. The words surprised me. Not because they changed anything, because for the first time, he said them without trying to bargain. Yes, I said. I'm sorry I made you prove things that should have been obvious. I watched Noah press his hands against a glass display, that eyes bright. So am I. I won't ask you again. Good. I hope you're happy. I looked at the children. The cupcakes, Maya laughing with Robert near the vending machines. My son standing under model planets, with both feet planted in his own life. I'm getting there, I said after we hung up. I did not feel pulled backward. That was how I knew I was healing. Not because I hated Daniel. Hate is still a rope. I simply did not want the life he represented. When candle time came, the museum staff dimmed the small party room lights. Not dark, just soft enough for one candle tall glow. Noah stood in front of his cupcake. One candle, one wish. No, one pushed another child beside him. Nodald gave a speech about generosity. Noon asked him to make room for a lie. Ma started the song. The children joined loudly and badly. Robert wiped his eyes when he thought nobody saw. I stood behind Noah close enough for him to lean back if he wanted, far enough for the moment to belong to him. He closed his for a second. I saw the old backyard, Daniel's hand on Caleb's shoulder, Vanessa's pale smile, Ellen's sharp voice, the DNA report in my hand, 0.7 flames waiting. Then Noah blew out his candle. The room cheered. He turned and hugged me. What did you wish? I asked. He shook his head. Can't tell, fair. He leaned closer and whispered, anyway, I wish that next year feels like this. 2. I held him tightly. It can. I said, we'll build it that way that night. After Noah fell asleep, surrounded by new books and plastic planets, I went to my studio. The window was open. Summer air moved through the curtains. On my desk lay the final divorce decree, a new illustration contract, and a small velvet box. Inside the box was my old wedding ring. I had kept it because I thought one day it might need to remember. Now I understood something. Remembering did not require keeping every object that hurt me. It took the ring out, placed it in an envelope, and wrote the name of a local charity that helped women leaving unsafe homes. The ring could become rent.groceries, a lock change, a bus ticket. Something useful that felt right. Then I appended my sketchbook for the first time in years. I did not draw for a client, a child, or a deadline. I drew a woman standing in front of a birthday cake. Behind her, a house burned quietly in front of her. A child held one candle. The woman was not smiling. Not yet. Both her shoulders were straight, and the candle was still lit